Hi, my name is Joe Boyd.
And I'm Marie Boyd.
We've been coming to Encounter since 2013. Back in 1985, I never was a church attender, and my family wasn't a godly family. I went straight out of high school into the Marine Corps. November 24th, 1986, I gave my life to the Lord. And then shortly thereafter, we went over to Okinawa, Japan, and Korea, and did some training with foreign troops. I was in field artillery. We manned an artillery piece that was a 155 millimeter cannon. And we had inbore explosion. I was standing right next to the gun when it blew up. And it knocked me 30 feet in the air and 50 feet from the gun where I landed. By the grace of God, nobody was killed and nobody was severely injured. In 2001, I was self-employed. I was a carpenter. On my way to a project, we had to take a detour because they closed down M37 for some work. And there was a big tree that had covered the stop sign at the intersection. So I didn't even know it was there. I ran the stop sign and T-boned another vehicle. My vehicle rolled twice and I was ejected out the passenger window. I broke my neck, my C2 vertebrae. According to my doctors, it was the same type of break that Christopher Reeves had. I was very fortunate that I walked away from my injuries eventually. That weekend before the accident, I attended a church service and they had an evangelist come in. For whatever reason I could not understand, I just started weeping and I wept for like 4 days. I couldn't stop. Right after that, I had the accident. And I believed that God was preparing my heart for what was going to happen. I was pretty stressed out, but the peace came over me once I got out of the hospital and went to Mary Free Bed. I just had this overwhelming peace knowing that God was going to take care of me. And He did in so many ways. It's just incredible.
I bought my house back in 2005. We've been there 6 months. I had not known my neighbors at all, and it happens to be my second cousin, which I didn't know until that time. I had went out and drank some, so Sunday morning I was hungover, and he come over and knocked on the door, and I'm thinking, who is going to be knocking on my door on Sunday morning? So I opened the door, and he come in and asked me if I'd been saved. I grew up Catholic. I went to catechism, and I did all the things that Catholics do, but the minute that I got on my own, I left God behind, and that was the biggest mistake I ever made. But that's the way God works. He will send somebody at the oddest times of your life, and you have to grasp onto it. And I did. At that moment, my son and I, we started going to church. And it was 3 months later I met Joe. I was doing online dating at the time. And he put a derogatory...
It wasn't derogatory.
Yes, it was.
It was mean. 10 years ago, I had some struggles I was going through. I went through a divorce. It was pretty messy. I told God I couldn't be alone. I wasn't the kind of guy to be alone. Went on dates, and it was terrible. The dating scene is not a place for a guy like me. It was just horrible. So one day, out of frustration, I put an ad.
Very derogatory.
Well, it wasn't derogatory. It was just, if most people read it,
And who answered it?
Most people would have said, you're a jerk. Every time I went out on a date, the lady would not be what they said they were on social media. So anyways, I got email from her, and she's like, oh, I saw your ad. How's that working out for you?
That's all I said. How's that working for you?
So I answered her, and we
Never talked to me before.
we exchanged emails. We decided to go on a date. So I invited her. I figured
To church.
I'm going to invite her to church, because if she goes to church and she's okay with it, then she's a keeper. We talked about a lot of things, and then we had our second date the following weekend, and I asked her to marry me. 6 months later, we were married.
I was divorced for 12 years. My family was shocked, to say the least.
Our marriage today is very strong. the trying times that we had when we first got married
Kids.
was our kids. Good Lord. You would
Trying to have a
thought-
blended family is very difficult.
Yeah, they fought like cats and dogs. In fact, one day she got a call from her neighbor saying that she could hear the kids screaming at each other in the house.
Don't make me come home.
So when I came home, I let them both know that if they didn't knock it off, I was going to make them sit in the middle of the floor holding hands until they got along. And of course, they didn't want to do that, so they started being nice to each other. Now, they actually get along pretty good. I always felt that I was up against everything, and the world was against me, and I pleaded with God so many times, and and there was times I get mad at him, shake my fist, but I look back at it now, and all these times that I was going through these things, he was preparing me for my next stage in life. Today, I look at my faith as a lot different than it used to be. I know who I am in Christ, and I know what kind of father he is because he's worked in my life so many times.